Welcome to the Million Vegan Grandmothers podcast. Today I meet with Karin Nelson, a full-time vegan advocate and vegan animal rights activist. Thank you, Karin, for being here today.
And thank you so much for having me on your program.
Thank you. I know that you used to be a fire captain and today you work as a full-time vegan activist, and it would be just so interesting to hear how you came into veganism and to rights activism and everything, and a little bit about your background, if you like to tell me.
Oh, certainly. After I finished high school, I and a friend moved into the north. We had a big plan of working on an offshore oil rig to make some money and travel to Europe. And I ended up just by chance falling into a job as a firefighter at an airport, at the airport in Inuvik, Northwest Territories. And it was such a good job for pay and benefits and the mobility that I could have. I couldn't quit it. So our Europe travel plans went out the window, and I started my career, and that was when I was about 20. I worked in Inuvik for a number of years, and then in Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories again, and finished my career in Edmonton. In Edmonton, I was a lieutenant on our crew, and I finished up as the captain of our crew at the international airport. And at 55, I was eligible for full retirement, which was wonderful. I highly recommend retirement.
Mm.
Uh, and shortly after that, the just stars just aligned. I have to say, um, throughout my life, I didn't know any other vegans, didn't know any other vegetarians, so I ate the traditional North American diet, and it included meat, eggs, and dairy for most of my life. But when I was 55, the beginning of well, a few months after I retired, I should say, my father had a stroke, and I was living in Edmonton at the time. He was living in Toronto, and he, I was traveling back and forth to go and see him and help him, try and help him recover from his stroke. So, on one of our visits, he said to me, one of the first things he said to me was, I just watched a W5 program, and W5 is a CBC-based program here in Canada, and I believe it's CBC. And they had done a program on horse slaughter in Canada. And I said, I don't know. I don't think so, Dad. I've never heard of that. We love horses in Canada. That can't be right. But that evening, he insisted, and that evening I went back to my hotel room and watched that segment on YouTube. And I was shocked that I didn't know about the horse slaughter industry. And of course, on YouTube, you see on the right-hand side all the other video suggestions that they make. And I started down that rabbit hole of watching uh, documentaries about animal agriculture and animal slaughter. That night, my world pivoted, and I was just so in shock. I spent the night crying and in disbelief. Um, that weekend, I finished up my visit with my father. I went back to Edmonton, and I was going vegan. I didn't know what I was going to eat. I didn't know how I was going to cook. I didn't know very much about it, but I just knew it was what I was going to do. So from that day forward, I've been plant-based and have for ethical reasons, been a vegan. Um, what else can I say? Shortly after that, I realized I needed to share the information that I had learned. And I searched out a group in Edmonton called Voice for Animals and became an activist with that group. And from there, just haven't looked back and continued activism. And that was, gosh, 14 years ago now.
Wow. And you're really a full-time activist. I think it's so, I mean, tell me a little bit about that and how that works. I mean, how is it for you? Does it give you energy? How is it for you?
Oh, well, yes, it is. It's full time because we need more people doing activism, basically.
Mm.
There is so much to do, so many approaches to letting people know about the problems with animal farming and all the other ethical issues around the way we treat animals. Whether you're working in the welfare, every little bit of activism that anybody does is critically important. So don't let anybody say that whatever activism you're doing isn't the right activism or it's not important. Every time we speak up for animals in any way, it's important. Whether you're doing welfarist work or you're an abolitionist, whether you're handing out leaflets or signing petitions, writing to government officials. Um, I know for a little while, for a number of years, probably 10 years, I was trying to do all of it, and it was overwhelming. It's changed, it's changed my life. Um, I would say for the better, because I really feel like I'm doing something meaningful now, something that is actually saving animals' lives and changing public opinion,
Mm.
um, changing hearts and minds. But it's also soul sucking to see the amount of animal exploitation and cruelty and suffering, not only in our country here, but around the world. It's everywhere. And um, it wears on you. In the last few years, I have been trying to gain more of a balance. One of the other things I very much enjoy doing is gardening. I have perennials. I have a rewilded area in my yard. I have, flowers. I grow a lot of my own vegetables, and built myself a greenhouse a couple of years ago.
Mm.
So I try and spend lots of time in my garden and planting and getting my hands in the dirt and or spending time in nature. I also have a rescued a dog. I had two. One passed away during COVID. And all my animals, all my companion animals have been rescues. And I have six cats at the moment.
Mm. How wonderful.
I I rescued a family of feral cats and couldn't bear to separate them. So I've got mom, dad, and their three daughters.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. I think when you speak about gardening, I think it's so important for all of us to have this kind of self-care when we work with these extremely terrible circumstances that animals are living under. And I think it's really important to also have this self-care and really do things that we feel good about.
Yes, and that would be a piece of advice I would put out there to anybody. Um, you know, do as much as you can as far as activism goes. You know, push your limits. If you think you can do more, do more. But because I think a lot of people can, I know I can always do more, but you also have to take care of yourself because it is so, well, it can be depressing
Yeah.
knowing what we know and seeing some of the animals in distress and the situations.
Do you have any advice for people who feel that because there are so much normalized violence and we are so conditioned to, you know, turn the other way around somehow and keep
Mhm.
eating dairy and meat and fish and everything. And so many vegans feel, so much frustration and sadness and even anger. I mean, do you have any advice for these kind of feelings, how we can build bridges, how we can sort of transform our
Mm.
sorrow into compassion and love, even if it's hard sometimes?
Yes, it is. It can be very difficult. I can attest to having gone through an angry vegan stage. That because I honestly thought when I learned about all the harms that we're doing to animals and all of the different industries around the world that exploit and kill animals, whether it's tourism, whatever, I thought if I shared this with people, my family, my friends, they would go, "Oh my gosh, this is horrible. How can we help? We love animals." And I was devastated to learn that most people just wanted to turn the other way. Oh, that's too awful to think about, to talk about. And yes, I enjoy my steak and my bacon, so please don't talk about that with me. I would. It launched me on a few years of being very angry. But I also learned it doesn't do me any good. It doesn't do me as an activist any good to feel that anger all the time. Uh, and it destroys relationships. Um, it also doesn't get us anywhere with sharing the message. So trying to be, and for the first little while, and still on some days, I really have to bite my tongue, put on a happy face and a positive attitude when we do outreach and I talk to people and congratulate them for if they say they're vegetarian. I'll congratulate them and say, "That's great. You're already making so much of a difference. Would you like to do more?" And uh, it's I get such overwhelming positive reaction when I talk to people that way. Uh, it's uh, it's difficult on the days that I'm not feeling so positive to put on that positive face and still appear kind of, I guess, happy, bubbly about what I'm doing. It can be draining, but the message really resonates with people a lot more. And I usually have something in my purse, in my hand, in my car that I can hand to people. And here's some more information if you'd like to look into it. Um, the Yes, staying angry is not a good thing. Um, it's again doing the self-care when people take a break. I mean, I sometimes don't look at my email, don't look at stuff on my phone for a couple of days and go and do other things that take my mind off of it. It's always, I have to say, it's always present. I never can forget about the animals, but I just have to take some time for me. Um, I hadn't in the past. It felt too selfish, it felt too self-centered, but I know now to keep going, you need to have a balance.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
We are right now planning, the first International Calf and Cow Mother's Day, as you know. And it's about the sacred bond between mother and child of all species. But we have a special focus on the dairy industry since it's so huge and the cruelties are so enormous, and still the awareness is quite low among many. Would you like to
mhm.
talk a little bit about the dairy industry and how you have reached out as an activist about that, or and also what you think? Yeah, some thoughts there.
Yeah. Yes, it has always been a bit of a focus for me because, well, in all animal agriculture, I'm also a feminist, and in all animal agriculture, we exploit the female body to make money with all species. But it's particularly egregious in the dairy industry when, a mother has her grows this beautiful baby inside her, and on in those first few hours or days when she's getting to know him or her, licking him clean, seeing this new little life in the world, the farmer comes and drags that baby away. My brother in Ontario lives beside a dairy farm, and he says calving season is awful, hearing the babies and the mothers for days and days cry out for one another. Um, our Direct Action Everywhere group here does a Mother's Day dairy protest awareness event at a dairy processing facility we have here. And as I mentioned to you in the earlier, we're going to ramp that up, I think, a little bit this year. With Voice for Animals, we also did a Mother's Day dairy awareness event where we gave mothers, we'd just go out in the street and we had flowers and a little card with a cow ribbon, and we would give those flowers to mothers, and if they would talk to us about the dairy industry, and just let them know about what happens to mothers and their babies in that industry. Um, the one event that really stuck with me was in Alberta. There was an open farm day, and a colleague and I went to this small family dairy farm. It's called the Mars Dairy, and they had about 80 cows, and people could, you could just come onto the farm and go to the gestation barn. You could go to the calf barn. You could go to different areas. And there were other farmers and volunteer t-shirts there to explain what was going on. They had a vets there where you or your children could simulate impregnating a cow. It was a big plastic mock-up of a mother cow, and they showed you how to put your arm inside the cow and feel for her uterus. And uh, it was it's so normalizing rape and exploitation. So we walked around, had a look at what was going on, and we started to talk to the vets. The vets flagged us to the event organizer, and I just said, I'm here just wanting to learn about the dairy industry. I didn't let on that I was vegan or with any group. When we went, there was a calf that had been born the day before, and there were two little girls who were in the pen with that calf. And of course, the calf was frantically sucking their fingers, and so cute and wobbly and, just brand new. And of course, everybody wanted to see that baby. And people were asking, why is that baby not with their mother? And these two young girls, probably about 10 years old, who were tending to the calf, said, "Oh, cows make terrible mothers. We don't let them stay with the babies. They're better off. We, make sure they get fed here and everything." So, both like at 10 years old, these girls are still spreading the lies of the dairy industry. We walked around to a place where the public wasn't supposed to be, and we saw the older calves with the spiked nose rings. Um, and they're straining over the fence because they can see or hear their mothers, and they've been separated for this event for the day. Um, we did talk to a few more of the volunteers, and finally did ended up getting walked off the property because the one volunteer, I said, "So what happens to, like how long do you keep a mother here, and how many babies does she have?" Oh, and because this is a smaller farm and the animals are supposedly healthier than, on a big mega farm, they'll keep a cow for 6 years or so. And then I said, "Okay, and then what happens?" Oh, he said, "They get sent away." And I said, "Sent away to where?" And there were a few other people on the tour standing around me. And he said, "Oh, we just we send them away like they're." And I said, "But to where? You know?" Finally, after a few different ways of asking that question, he says, "Okay, fine. They get made into McDonald's hamburgers." And the people standing around me went, "Oh!" There was a collective gasp, and uh, I said, "So when they no longer make money for you, you kill them." Well, yeah, I guess he said. So these are the things that they don't want people to know. And I said this is an open farm event. Be open, be honest with people. And no, that wasn't, as you can well imagine, that wasn't well received.
No.
So we had some of the farm teenage male bullies come and cross their arms and stand there while and follow us while we were walking around
Wow.
talking to people. And yeah, we ended up having to leave. Felt a little dangerous.
And imagine this is still like an open house. This is like a show-off farm.
Yes.
Imagine then how horrific it is,
Mhm.
behind closed doors.
Yes, this
I
is
mean,
this is one of the farms that is the best of the best. The animals don't go outside. They're not chained in this barn, but they live on concrete and they have, sand to lay on. But that's all they do is go from their open, their common area to the milking parlor 3 times a day. What?
yeah. The, the more we know about the horrific dairy industry, the more I find it so mind-blowing and horrific that we have normalized it to this extent in our society.
Mhm.
Intelligent people are just, you know, I can't understand how we have come this far away from the truth when it comes to this
Mhm.
normalized violence, this
Oh,
cruelty all over the world.
yes, absolutely. And I can't tell you the number of times in my outreach and activism, the number of people who say, but cows just give milk, don't they? So it would be a waste if we didn't take it. And uh, not realizing they missed biology class, I guess. They,
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
say, to be able to say then, well, why, if I'm talking to a woman, why would your body start to make milk? And then the light goes on and they realize.
Mm.
But and yes, it has been one of the uh, biggest lies told to us that we need to drink the breast milk from a large bovine mammal to be healthy, and that anything in that system is humane or kind. When
Exactly.
when I've seen what we do, it is mind-boggling that it's so deeply entrenched, and of course has gets so much money from the government.
Mm.
And it is good to see the tide is changing, with the rise of plant-based milks,
Mm.
other plant-based dairy products, but we're still totally at the beginning of the wave, I think.
Yes. I was actually going to ask you about that. If you have any, you know, if you can see any positive things. I mean, you have been working with this for 14 years as an activist. If you have seen, I mean, it can be both positive and negative, of course, but changes in the dairy industry when it comes
Mhm.
to, yeah, things that has happened in society.
Hmm. It has, even in 14 years, I've noticed a big difference. When I first went vegan, there were very few options for plant-based dairy, and some of it just was not good, like the plant-based cheeses that were out there, not great at all. But we here in Canada, I think you in Europe and Sweden probably have access to a lot more really good products. But even here in Canada, we have a lot more available to us. I make some of my own cheese now, And I must say it's pretty darn good. You make aged fermented cheeses, and it's it's disheartening to see what the European Union, just decided around plant-based alternatives, around the naming of them. They can't be called sausages. They can't be called um, uh, the same names as the animal-based products, but it's a blip. I think we'll get past that. It's unfortunate. It's a good indication of change that's happening because animal agriculture industries are pushing back hard because I think they see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, I think so too. They are getting, yeah, exactly, nervous about. I think this can only lead in one direction in the long run. But the question is,
Yes.
how long will it take?
Mhm.
Yeah, this will we will see. Mm.
Yeah, it is. And that's another thing that I've come to realize, that this is a long game. I expected when I first went vegan, as I mentioned, I thought, oh my gosh, everybody needs to know this and it's going to end really quickly. It's not. We are in this for the long game. So any small change, any incremental change needs to be celebrated, and need to keep remembering those on the bad days where
Yeah,
the bad news is sometimes overwhelming.
yeah, exactly. You are a mother yourself, and I am as well, and we both know how extremely strong that bond is. And still, animal agriculture is based on separating mother and babies, not only cows. I mean, all species, more or less. And you know, what do you think is required to actually start to include all animals, all sentient beings in our circle of compassion? I mean, this is a goal, of course, but what is required of us inside? I mean, you were talking to mothers, you are talking to different people, and so am I, of course. But I mean, what is required from us as humanity to start to include the animals as well in this sacred bond of mother and baby and mother and child?
Hmm. Boy, that's a good question. That's a complicated question. I don't know. I think everybody's motivation is going to be a little bit different. I mean, one great thing that is that the vast majority of human beings do care about animals. We care about our companion animals. We care about horses. We care about animal welfare. We don't want to see them suffer. And so many people have been led to believe that we do animal agriculture kindly and humanely as possible. You and I both know that that's not the truth. And the more people that understand that, I think it can lead to further critical thinking about the industry, animal agriculture industry, and animals in general. Um, Being able to talk to people, launch into a conversation about animals that we do care about, whales, dolphins, wild animals, elephants, and then include, the ones that we have drawn that artificial line between and called food, to be able to speak to people and say, these cows feel exactly the same. Chickens protect their babies. They'll put themselves in danger, just like a mother elephant will. They all, and I often get a lot of thoughtful, head to the side going, yeah, I guess you're right. When I talk to people, um, what will it take for us to change? We need to change laws around animals. Animals do need a basic Bill of Rights, personhood. The Non-Human Rights Project is trying to get some animals recognized as having personhood. Uh, and having ideally, I'd love to see a ministry for animals, and that includes companion animals, wild animals, farmed animals, all animals, and view the legal system and governance through their, through a different lens, through their eyes, and make some changes. The sad thing is that animal agriculture has deep pockets and is very entrenched with our government. They get a lot of our tax money in the form of grants and subsidies, and they will push back tooth and nail against any changes that give animals rights. So I think until we get past that hump in the fight, it's still going to be uphill because more and more people are eating more plant-based, are and or going vegan or vegetarian for ethical reasons. More people are aware. That's been a good thing about the information age, that it is out there for people to see if they choose.
Mm.
But what will it take? And sadly, I won't see major changes in my lifetime, but I can only keep going and helping push the movement towards that forward.
Thank you, Karen, for everything you are doing. And I really feel it's so inspiring to meet someone like you. And I think you really change so much more than you can even imagine. I mean, just talking to you is really inspiring and gives a lot of strength, actually, and positive energy. So thank you for everything you're doing for the animals. Mm.
Well, I couldn't, knowing what I know, it's not an option to stop ever. And yeah, I look forward to I've seen the documentary. It's wonderful, and it's going to give a new push to doing activism, particularly for mothers and their babies of all species, and being able to move this project forward.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wonderful. We are so happy as well that you are involved and will do things as well at the May 9 and 10. Would
Mhm.
you like to
Yeah,
share our little and end this interview with a little text, please? Mm.
yes, please. I definitely support. I've only recently become aware of the Million Vegan Grandmothers, and even though I'm not a grandmother yet, I am a mother, and I know a lot of vegan grandmothers. And I support this project wholeheartedly. And with the launch of International Cow and Calf Day this year in 2026. We'll be holding an event. It's an event being held worldwide, and we're going to be holding an event to honor the sacred ironclad bond between mothers and babies of all species. I invite anybody who would like to be involved, share this podcast, share the documentary, share your art, share your recipes, host an event where you live. It's very, very, very simple to do. And yes, please go to calfandcow.org to find out more. And I look forward to meeting everybody doing activism, and thank you for your activism.
Thank you, Karin. Pleasure meeting you.
Thank you as well, Anne. Every project that somebody takes on, I mean, making video and doing the editing is not a strength of mine. I like to go out and speak to people in a grocery store. One of the things I do if I'm doing groceries and I see a young man in the store with a jug of milk in his cow milk in his cart, I'll go up to him and I'll say, you know what? You're too young to, or you're too old to be drinking breast milk from a cow.
Wow, you say that?
And
Wonderful.
I'll get this kind of deer in the headlights look. He'll look at me, some old woman talking about breast milk, and look at his, and I'll say, yes, breast milk from a cow. Like you shouldn't be drinking it. Have you tried oat or soy or anything else? And I said, would you like some information? Always have my pamphlets with me. And
What a great activism yeah, wow.
yeah, or doing disruptions. We do with our direct action everywhere. We do disruptions in grocery stores. Um, and yeah, just awareness and education is going to be a huge part of changing hearts and minds as well. Just putting it in front of people because the industry has worked so hard to hide the truth. And to now they're in disinformation and misinformation mode, actively spreading misinformation to keep people confused and to try and give people straight facts and give them scientific. Uh, when we do, if I share information, I can usually have a backup of an organization, that has done the undercover video, um, or scientific papers that are proving the health effects of dairy on us or the environmental impacts. Um, the other thing I do, and dairy factors quite large in this activism, is the plant-based cities movement. It's a climate group, but we focus on the impacts of food. And of course, animal agriculture is overall the second leading cause of greenhouse gas emissions and a leading cause of methane because of the particularly ruminant animals that we use. So, anything beef, dairy, goat, lamb, those animals produce a lot of methane. And so that is another area that we focus on with
So
plant-based cities.
important. Wow,
Hmm.
amazing. You are doing a lot of so important work. Thank you for everything. And it's
Mm,
really, I think sometimes when we are activists, we are so focused on what we're doing, and we are, you know, even if we are happy to see some changes, there's a lot of sadness as well. And sometimes we just have to remind ourselves that there are ripple effects all the time, and what we are
yeah.
doing are actually it's changing more than we think many times. Even when we don't see it, it can change someone, far away. And thank you for what you're doing. It's amazing.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. And thank you for doing the interview and supporting Million Vegan Grandmothers.
Mm, thanks.
Uh, I visited Sweden once.
Oh.
One of my aunts is from Sweden. The rest of my family's in Germany, and but one of my aunts is from Sweden, and we went to stay when my children were small. Stayed in her family cottage there, and
Oh, where
oh,
in
it was
Sweden was it?
lovely.
Yeah.
And I knew you were going to ask me that, and I'm Tromsø. Oh,
Oh, a little bit
uh,
north.
yes, yes.
Yeah. Mm.
And but beautiful, a 5-minute drive from the ocean, and oh, just it was what you'd think of in the Swedish countryside, wildflowers, and they didn't have any animals, but an animal barn, and the house that had been, was their summer house, and oh, just it was heaven.
Mm. That sounds really nice. Wow, Karen, it was a pleasure meeting you, really.
And same,
Thank you.
same.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
really.